few nights after a terrible storm has lashed the nearby coastline, 4 people wearing wet weather gear arrive at the foot of the ancient lighthouse known as the Beacon, situated a couple of miles to the west of Porthcroll village. Edwin Locke is a man who has recently returned from fighting in a war between the Royalists and Parliamentarians. He remains silent concerning which side he fought for, and his eyes have the haunted look of a man who has seen too much death. Marco is one of the strange pale-skinned elves from Fardaciar. He settled in the village of Porthcroll some time ago, and, despite some initial resistance, has earned grudging respect due to his ability as a carpenter. William is to all appearances a normal young boy. However, sometimes a shadow falls across his face, or he speaks in a voice old beyond his years. Sasha, sister to William, is a young flame-haired woman dressed in the garb of a highwayman. The wrinkled old lighthouse keeper, Thackeray West, tells the 4 that he's invited them to the Beacon because he saw a royalist ship get wrecked on the treacherous rocks around Windy Bay during the Great Storm a few nights previous. With his in-depth knowledge of the local currents, Thackeray believes that much of the cargo from the vessel will have been swept into the sea caves that pockmark the nearby cliffside. No longer a young man and unable to reach the caves himself, Thackeray volunteers to reveal a concealed smuggler's passage down to the cave, in return for 20% of any salvage that the 4 can recover. After thinking for a few moments, and sharing a drink with the eccentric old man, the 4 guests agree to his deal and are given the directions to the smuggler's pass. Creeping down the pass, the 4 individuals find themselves blocked on one side by a huge rock face, whilst on the other there is a 100-foot drop down to the crashing waves below. Edwin spots some detritus from the ship that has washed up against the face of the cliff far below. For a moment they contemplate using their rope to get down to the wreckage, but decide to press on to the caves, Thackeray's warning echoing in their ears. "You should be fine as long as you don't delay. When the evening tide comes in, those caves will be flooded. I wouldn't want to be in there when that happened." As they reach the end of the smuggler's pass and the entrance to the caves is revealed, Marco's keen sense of smell picks up the scent of tobacco in the air. William sneaks to the mouth of the pass and peers out. A guard wearing mustard and black-coloured clothes in the royalist style is sat on a broken crate, smoking a pipe and occasionally shouting to companions of his that remain out of sight further into the caves. Unfortunately, William dislodges some stone made loose by the sea air, and it crashes down, alerting the guard, who begins advancing on their position with a pistol drawn. Edwin initially tries to speak to the royalist, soldier to soldier, but when it becomes clear that he isn't getting anywhere, he draws his arquebus and fires. Unfortunately, the dampness has seeped into his powder, and there is just a short puff of smoke. Whilst the guard is shouting to raise the alarm, the 4 are able to finish him off. William, seemingly lost to a strange bloodlust, continues to stab the guard long after the royalist has breathed his last. During the confusion, Marco has snuck further into the cave system, wading through waist-deep water, and sees 2 royalists attempting to dislodge a large coffin-shaped box wrapped in chains, from where it has become wedged between 2 rocky outcroppings. They are arguing with each other and mention the name Lord Rothschild. One of the guards leaves to find out what has happened to their lookout and is set upon by Marco's 3 companions, whilst the other spots the elf and moves to engage him. He is accompanied by his captain, who had been lurking, previously unseen, behind a rocky protuberance. Marco attempts to fend them both off but is severely injured. It looks for a moment as though he is going to fall when Edwin, having helped finish off the guard nearest to him, grabs one of the royalists' pistols and neatly blows a hole in the captain's head. Moving to investigate the coffin-shaped box, Marco realises something inside is attempting to get out, and he notes with mounting concern a number of holy symbols fastened to the box. Before he can fully warn his companions, the box bursts open, and a shambling corpse wearing the tatters of a monk's robes climbs out, swinging its bony claws at the elf. Recovering from his bloodlust, William hurls a pot of lantern oil at the advancing corpse, which is ignited by a pistol shot from Edwin, causing the flailing creature to burst into flames. Seemingly unconcerned by the burning of its flesh, the creature cuts Marco down and turns to advance on the others, hurling itself at Edwin. Luckily, he is able to fend it off for long enough that the fire finishes it off. He drags Marco's unconscious body out of the water to prevent him from drowning. Exploring further, they discover a great mess of debris and salvage from the wrecked vessel at the far end of the cave. William also finds a thin crack that appears to lead out of the cave and plunge further down into the depths, but elects not to explore it at this time. Amongst the other salvage, they find a small wooden box with brass fixtures. When opened, it contains the partially ruined remnants of the ship's log. It talks about a weapon taken in Calam on the orders of Duke Rothschild that they hope to use against the parliamentarians. The log refers to the weapon as an abomination and speaks of meeting people near Porthcrawl so that it can be offloaded and taken to the sage Salazar. They also find 50 silver pieces, 3 barrels of wine, a silver mirror, 5 pouches of tobacco and a spyglass. Gathering up this newfound wealth, they return to the Beacon, carrying the injured and unconscious Marco, where they give Thackeray a share of the silver, a barrel of wine